Hello, hi, how are you? I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Hello! So today's, first of all, candle of the day. This is a candle from Anthropology. It's got a really nice fall scent. I also love how just like ginormous. Hi, so today's video, we are going to be doing a Sephora sale recommendations video. I've been getting a lot of requests to do this. I know the sale kind of just started, but also didn't just start depending on your level, but I thought it would be fun to give you guys some recommendations of how to use the 10, 15, or 20% off. I will say 10, 15, 20% off, it's not like a huge difference, but it can definitely be helpful, especially if you're Christmas shopping or if you're buying stuff for yourself or whatever you're doing. I thought it would be fun to give some recommendations, just stuff that I've been loving. Let's get right into this. I kind of broke this up into like picking my favorite thing for sections. So I have like my favorite primer, my favorite foundation I would recommend, powder, and we're just gonna go through like that. I tried not to do multiples in too many categories just because I don't want this video to be an hour and a half long, but I did have to pick certain things where there was like two things. So the first thing I wanna recommend is a primer. So, and I have a little hack for this primer. So this is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I love this stuff like so much. I use this all of the time. This is probably my most used primer, and the only reason it still has so much product in it is I will give you a little hack. So I bought this a while ago and I kind of have finessed the system. A lot of times Sephora has mini Bobbi Brown face bases for 100 points and they're very small. However, you can get multiples. So I save all of my points. Forget using it for $10 off, okay? That's a scam. The fact that they're making you use 500 points for $10 is ridiculous. But anyway, I save up my points, and whenever they have those Bobbi Brown face bases as a 100-point perk, I buy as many as I possibly can. And I save them, and then I just keep dumping them into this jar and refilling the jar. So this jar has gone almost empty, I think twice, and I've just refilled it with samples of that. So that's a little hack for you. So I absolutely love this stuff. It does so much for my skin in the sense that it makes it really fresh and moisturized. It's definitely, if you need something that's going to minimize pores, it definitely does that a little bit. There are other primers that minimize pores a lot more. I more use this for hydration and just making my skin kind of have that little like Instagram filter over it, so it's like ready to put stuff on top of. It provides a really, really nice solid base to put product on, and that's why I have been loving this. So this one was absolutely always the one I'll recommend for primer. It's such a good primer. Next, for foundation, I decided my rec would have to be the Kosas Tinted Face Oil. I've talked about this in a Slays or Nays kind of recently. This face oil is so, okay, ignore the noise. It's so icky. But I love this face oil. I've already said I'm planning on so far using this for my wedding day, and I really stand by that. It gives, again, just that filtered look on your face without making it look like you're wearing makeup. I know that we use the term skin-like a lot when it comes to base products. This is legitimately probably the first time I've used a product where I've like, no, this is skin-like. It's going to look like your skin, but just a little bit elevated of your skin. It's so good. I cannot recommend this stuff enough. I tell everybody that it's like the most slept on product, I feel. So I have been really loving this. The one thing I will say is because it's an oil, it works on my skin because I have very neutral skin. My skin's kind of like Switzerland. It's not really super oily or super dry one way or the other. So it works really well for me, but I'm not sure if this would work if you had really oily or really dry skin. I'm not sure it would perform. So I think it's best with base products. Get a sample, make sure it's going to work for you before you buy it. I feel that way about a lot of base products. Everybody's skin is so different. What is perfect for me might not be perfect for you, but if you have similar skin to me, I think that this is a really, really slept on product, and it's so good. I have two concealers I would like to talk about, and they serve two different purposes. This is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer. I actually bought a backup of this at this sale because I'm almost out of this one. You can see I'm like scraping the sides. This is just my favorite concealer. It works so well. The consistency is really nice where it's not too cakey, but it's also not too watery. It's got a really nice in-between consistency. It does a great job at covering, a decent job at brightening. Not like the most brightening concealer, but definitely a decent job. And again, gives that very skin-like look. Doesn't settle into my creases. We all know I have creasy under eyes. Doesn't settle into my creases too bad. It's just a nice application and a very nice finish that I'm a big fan of. It's also not a super matte or super dewy finish. I would say it's just kind of a perfect in between very matte and very dewy, which is really nice because you can keep it a little bit more dewy if you don't want to set it with a powder, or you can set it with a powder and mattify it very well. Next for concealer is the Rare Beauty Brightening Concealer. I am not the biggest fan of this as a formula. I don't don't love how this sits on my under eyes necessarily formula-wise by itself. However, I use a little dab of this almost every day to brighten my eyes, and it works so well. It works so well at brightening the under eyes. I don't know what they put in this, like sunshine, I don't know what they did, but it does wonders for brightening up the under eyes. It is easily the most brightening concealer I've ever used, where it truly does add just like that little bit of like awakeness to your under eyes. I find that if I use this on its own without any other products, like if I don't have a foundation on, it doesn't look as bad, but definitely mixed with a foundation, not my favorite formula. However, if you have very dark circles like I do, just a little dab of this mixed in with whatever other concealer you're using, gold. So next we have powder, and I've recommended this a bunch of times, so I'll keep it brief, but I love the Fenty Beauty powder. It truly is my favorite powder I have found in the last like year and a half. It has that perfect in between of not being too flour consistency, but also not being too finely milled. I call it the sifted flour consistency, where it's just got a really nice light kind of feel to it and light coverage, but it's also not too light where it doesn't do anything. My one gripe is the packaging, because it gets very dirty, but you can wipe it off and it'll be clean for about 2 minutes. I love this powder. I think it's great. It also lasts a super long time. I still have probably about a quarter of this left, like 25%, and I've had it for definitely over a year and a half. So I really like this stuff. I'm in the shade Butter, which works really well for me. And again, having very problematic under eyes, finding a good powder that doesn't settle in or get all creasy or get all textury is a little bit difficult, and I find that this one does the job so well every single time, consistently, works with everything. Love this. All right, next for bronzer. So I feel very iffy about Charlotte Tilbury. It's very hit or miss with them, because some of their products are amazing, like the one I'm about to show you, and some of them are not good and they're horrible. So I'm very hit or miss, but I will say, to their credit, this Charlotte Tilbury, the Airbrush Bronzer, is so good. I love it. And also I have a lot of friends who have this and also love it. And we're all kind of like, it's good. It's expensive and it's Charlotte Tilbury, but it's good. Like, this works. First of all, it's way bigger than I thought it would be. It's like massive. Sometimes Charlotte Tilbury products are so puny and tiny that it's like ridiculous. It's a huge pan and a ton of product that you get with this. I am in the shade 2 medium, which is definitely a perfect shade for me. I don't think I would want to go any darker or lighter, but I believe there are 6 shades. There's either 4 or 6 shades. So this is a good shade for me. I just find that this applies so evenly, so smoothly. It doesn't take a lot of work to blend it in, kind of glides on and just meshes into your skin so nicely. The coloring is super nice because it's not too orange, but it's also not too I think it looks a little bit oranger on the pan than it is on camera, because I'm seeing in the viewfinder and it definitely is not this orangey in real life. It's got more of a neutral brown, which I think is so important. A bronzer can have the best formula in the world, but if the coloring isn't right for you, there's no point in having it. So I found that this color works really well for me because of just how neutral it is. And like I said, it performs beautifully. It glides on easily. I have had nothing but positive things to say about this bronzer. The only downside is I'm scared to travel with it because it is very thin and I'm scared I'm gonna break it. So if you travel a lot, probably wouldn't recommend, but overall I've had a very positive experience with this and I think it's such a good bronzer. This formula is something special. It glides on so beautifully. It's like unreal. I have a lot of blushes that I love. I'm kind of a blush fiend, especially as of 2020. I've gotten really into blushes, but I would have to say that for this recommendation, I'd have to recommend the new Melt blushes. I've not had this for very long, and I think you can already see I've made a little bit of a dent into it where I've kind of broken up the embossing, taken away, because I really do use this all the time. I'm not going to go into my rant about bees again, but if you watched my Slazernays, you know how I feel about the bee thing. However, I think the actual product is like unreal. Definitely my favorite glowy blush find of 2020, where it's got that perfect mix of being very luminous and very kind of dewy looking without there just being chunks of glitter, which I find is one of the biggest issues I have with shiny blushes, is they always just have this like micro glitter in them. This does not have any of that. It is pure, just baked sheen, and it is so lovely to use. I don't really use one side or the other. I mix the two together, which is typically how I use most products that are formatted like this. Like if there's not something dividing two different colors, I just mix them together. And normally I do think the Melt cheek products are a little bit more expensive, and I do think this is expensive for what it is. However, with the 20%, 10%, 15%, whatever it is, with that percentage off, I do think it's a little bit more worth it. And I also think these are so beautiful. If you're a glowy blush lover, this this is for you, like 100%. If you're like glowy blush without glitter, she's your girl. I have the shade Buzzkill, and I really like it. It's like my peachy champagne-y pink dreams. Okay, brows. So I have two products for brows that I've been using kind of interchangeably that I really like. The first is the Fenty Beauty Brow Pencil. I believe I talked about this in my 2019 favorites video, best makeup of 2019. I can't really remember, but I know I talked about this at some point, and I do really, really love this Fenty Beauty Brow Pencil. I think it's so good. I love how unique the little brush is. It's kind of like a little toothbrush versus like the spoolie that you typically see, which I do really enjoy. I actually think it's really fun. The first I was like, what is this? But I actually really enjoy using it. I use this if I want my brows to be a little bit more precise and if I'm trying to do something a little bit more specific with them. Whereas a lot of times with my brows, I end up using this because this is kind of my like messy brow on the go product. I love this Rare Beauty brow stuff. The Rare Beauty Brow Duo, whatever it's called. I know some people didn't like it because it does have, instead of a more thin pencil, the pencil side has this like definer shape, kind of like the ABH brow definers. It is a little bit more thick. I personally like that because I am not super precise with my brows. I very much just do whatever and then leave. So I'm not the most precise person with my brows. I'm not there trying to draw on like individual hairs. So if you do your brows in the sense that you just kind of fill them in, I think this would be a great product for you. If you're trying to do things that are a little bit more like brow hairs and, you know, like creating a different shape, I think this is a better product. But if you're in a hurry, busy on the go, this is your gal. I love the definer because it makes filling in my brows super, super easy. And then also on this side, you have a brow gel that's actually really good. It is a little bit pigmented, so I'd make sure you just wipe it really well on the side before you use it, because once it's on there, like it's pigmented for sure. I know some brow gels, you have a little bit of leniency. You do not with this one. It's very pigmented, but it works super well and it holds your brows in place very nicely. The one downside to this is that because it has the gel on this side, you don't have a spoolie, so I do have to use like a different spoolie. That's a very small critique because obviously that's like what the point of this product is. But I will say it's slightly an annoyance. If I'm being really nitpicky about something, I would say this is a little bit of annoyance. But overall, I've loved this brow product. Okay, next for eyes. I really only had one palette I wanted to recommend right now. That's just because I think a lot of the palettes that are out currently, I realized when I was going through my palette collection, a lot of my palettes lately have come from like indie brands or brands that are not necessarily Sephora, the ones that I've been gravitating towards and really loving. So I didn't have a ton of eyeshadow palettes that I was like, oh my god, yeah, that's worth $50. However, this one is one of my favorite neutral palettes I picked up this year. This is the Supreme Nudes by Artist Couture, and the inside looks like this. Oh, I love it. I love this palette so much. I love the mix of this green that kind of makes things pop a little bit more and spices up a typically more standard neutral. Something about this hunter green can just make a whole look completely elevated and different. I also love the mix of these more mustardy shades. I feel like a lot of neutral palettes that I had prior to this one definitely leaned, not necessarily cool toned, but they were a little bit more kind of neutrally nudes, whereas this has like a mustardy nude color story. And then again, with that green, with these browns, this shade Opulence right here is like bam. I also love the mix of shimmers in this because obviously Opulence and Supreme are definitely a little bit more of those in-your-face shimmers that are super bold, pack a good punch. If you're trying to do something that's kind of like, people are going to look at your eyeshadow and be like, wow, those are great shades for that. Also things like Lavish and Bronziana that are just a little bit more of a muted shimmer, which I'm not always a big fan of. Personally, I don't love a muted shimmer, but I can appreciate the point of that. You can either use this palette as like an elevated glam, or you could use this palette for more of everyday, just kind of throwing on a light shimmer to like walk out the door. I think the effort that they put into it is what makes this stand out for me. I feel like a lot of neutral palettes definitely feel very lazy because they just kind of feel thrown together. This has enough different aspects to it than a normal neutral palette that make it a little bit more elevated, and also the formula is fantastic, which really helps it. I feel like a lot of time was actually put into the process of this and it paid off. I think it's beautiful, and also the packaging, very sleek, very nice. Also a Black-owned brand, so that's always dope too. Despite not having a lot of eyeshadow palettes to recommend, I do have an eyeshadow trio to recommend, and if you've been watching a while, you will not be surprised. I really firmly believe that you should buy the Kaja bento boxes. I talk about these so much to an obnoxious point. I think the Kaja bento boxes, the shimmer ones, I don't really like the ones that have mattes mixed with shimmers. I just don't think they're as worth the price point of $21 for 3 shadows unless they're these beautiful, gorgeous, unreal shimmer shades. I use these often, frequently. These get pulled out for almost every single look that I do in some way or another because they just are the most high shimmer, gorgeous, beautiful formula. I would have to say if I have like a favorite thing of makeup, like out of all of my makeup, this is easily top 5 favorite thing in makeup is the Kaja Bento boxes. They make everything so pretty and glittery and gorgeous. They make any eye look this beautiful little glimmery dream. I'm obsessed with these glitters. I think they're so, so good. Anytime somebody wants a glitter recommendation, this is always what I go with. Personally, my favorite is the Rosewater 01 Rosewater Quad, and that's just because it's got a really nice variety of more light pinks, which is typically what I use on my lids. I also do like the more bronze one as well. This is 03 Toasted Caramel. This one is really nice too. It's got some really good golds, but I don't think you can go wrong with any of them because the formula is that good. The formula is bomb on these. If you love like a glitter eye topper, these are the best ones you can find in my personal opinion. I think they are the best glitter eye toppers ever invented. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk about Kaja Bento boxes. I'm unashamed. I love them so much. Next for a recommendation, I would have to say I would recommend the Rare Beauty liquid highlighters. I am not the biggest liquid anything fan unless it's like a base product. I'm never a big liquid blush fan. I'm not really a big liquid bronzer fan. Like none of those things I'm super obsessed with. These liquid highlighters are so, I'm wearing the gold one today. It's so good. It truly gives you, again, that skin. I feel like the kind of vibe this year was very skin-like, very like Glossier vibes, very like dewy, like no makeup look. These provide that for you so, so well. I know everybody was kind of obsessed with like the foundation from this launch and the cream blushes. I think these were so underrated from that launch. These highlighters are so, so good. The formula is just incredible. I just take off and you get to the little doe foot and I just use a brush and kind of dab and then rub on, and it provides just this beautiful glowy glow. It has that, again, not like a blinding glow. If you want something that's blinding, I have a different recommendation, but if you like that everyday natural, just like your skin happens to be very dewy and glowy, this is it for you. I also think they have a really good shade range. These two are kind of the ones that work best for me. I have Mesmerize and Outshine, but there's definitely a decent shade range where I feel like a lot of people could find a good color for them. And again, just that everyday glowy, dewy glow. These are perfect. The one thing I will say, applying them on your nose, if you have pores, is a little dicey. It gets a little dicey sometimes. You have to really pat that in with your finger. But other than that, I think these apply beautifully all over the face, and they are some of my favorite things to use lately. Also, for a highlighter, I did have to give a shout out to this one again because I know I've talked about this highlighter a lot, but the Milk Flex highlighters are just so, so good. Like, they are just so incredibly good. This shade is Lit, and it's the only one I have because I think it's the one that would just work best for my skin tone, but this shade, the perfect pinky champagne-y pink highlighter. Perfect shade. It's also just got the best formula, again, where it's so hyper shiny and beautiful, and it has just a little tiny touch of glitter without just looking like glitter on your face. The formulation on this is so out of this world. Ugh, I love it. I love, love, love this highlighter. It's so good. I don't want to harp on this too much because I know I've talked about it a lot, but I really recommend these highlighters. I think they're so, so good. I wanted to do a lip product. I'm not really big on liquid lipsticks anymore the way that I used to be. I've been much more inclined to wear like bullet lipsticks or glosses. However, I think that still to this day, the Clarins lip oils are some of the most slept on products, honestly, and I think these are such a good find. These lip oils, especially if you have smaller lips, because I obviously am lacking in the lip department and I have smaller lips, and so finding a gloss that doesn't make my lips look smaller is sometimes a little bit of a challenge because I used to wear glosses and it would just make my lips look really tiny, really emphasize the little lips that I did have. This is not a plumping gloss because I don't like those. Not a fan of plumping glosses. It provides such a nice dimension to the lips and such a high shine. I think because it is so oil based, it really gives this beautiful glow on the lips. You get that really nice sheen that you love to see in a lip gloss. Despite this being like a neon orange color in the tube, it doesn't actually apply as a neon orange. It's definitely got an orange tint, so you're not wearing like a bright orange lip gloss. It's actually quite subtle and beautiful. I'm a big, big, big fan of these. I have been for a while. I think they're 10 out of 10. Like, these are so good. It also smells really good. It smells like licorice. I love it. All right, friends. And with that is my Sephora VIB Sale Recommendations video. I hope you guys like this. I hope you got to see some makeup that I've just been really liking. If you had an interest in wanting to save some money or wanting to buy gifts, I think this is a decent overview of what I've personally been loving. And yeah, I love you guys so much. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, or just subscribe, or do neither. Honestly, just so happy you're here watching me. Thank you so much for being here. My merch, my social media, and everything I'm wearing on my face will be linked down below, along with links for you to go help be a part of the runoff Senate race that is happening in the state of Georgia right now. Georgia needs a lot of funding, a lot of help, a lot of advocacy to get through the next couple of months before the official runoff race happens on January 5th. So I will be promoting a lot of that down there. Feel very passionately about this race. Not only vote if you live in Georgia, but also donate some money if you can, because I think it's really important. Yeah, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!